Hi everyone. Today we're going to do a throwback video, and a video that is very much in the spirit of the start of my channel. So if you want to do travel through time with me and talk about why I started to transition in the first place, keep on watching. So for those of you that don't know, my female used to... my female... Freudian slip. My channel used to be called Female Horizons, and I changed the name, but the Tumblr blog is still the same because that's how it actually originated. Fun fact. Yeah, I know. So fun. But it was originally just, I was going to document only the transition. And I think I burned out on the channel inevitably because that's all the channel was about, and I'm more than just a trans person. I remember somebody once commented, it's like, remember that there are things beyond being trans. And I took that a weird way, but looking back, thank you for that comment because it's so true. It's just easy to get wrapped up in things because the truth is that YouTube tries to pigeonhole me. The only videos that get any views are trans related videos. But I digress. We're talking about how I knew I was trans and why I decided to transition. And if any of you watching me are coming to terms with your trans identity and trying to figure out where to start, I hope my video and my story can help you. And I'm hoping to make more videos like this in the future because, not many people stick themselves out there and try to represent for the trans kids and the confused trans people, but I'm hoping I can represent a healthy, happy, normal, and not like depressing existence, because when I first was learning about what being trans was, it was not portrayed as like a happy endeavor. Most of the things I read online were horrible, and I thought that my life was going to be horrible. And I want to be a positive representation out there. I want people to see me and think I can do it too, because you can. But, we all start somewhere. For the longest time, I thought I was a gay guy. I identified as a gay guy. I had relationships with guys who wanted to be with guys, but I was always too feminine for them, which is ironic, right? Guys who had just come out to their girlfriends would date me, and then they'd be like, okay, this is kind of not working for me for the same reasons. But I was also getting constantly torn apart in theater for not being manly enough, for the male roles I was supposed to be cast in. So I was getting teased as a kid, for being gay or whatever. So I had this weird relationship with my gender, and I was never perfectly happy with my masculinity. And I was always a feminine kid, but I didn't want to let myself express it until I came out as gay. The first time I saw myself represented on TV was actually watching Glee, which makes me sound like a basic bitch, but when I saw the character of Kurt, something really resonated with me, just like an eccentric, flamboyant guy doing his thing at school at the behest of other people who didn't like what he was doing. And that really resonated with me at the time. And I don't know why it meant so much to me, but representation, it matters. But I eventually realized, oh, I'm more than just gay. I want to express myself femininely. I want to paint my nails. I want to grow out my hair. I want to do my makeup. And all of these things are divorced from being just a gay guy. Yeah, gay guys do them. And I told myself I was doing drag, but I wasn't doing drag. I was just like wearing it, A drag queen likes to take the makeup off at the end of the day, but I didn't. I didn't want to take it off. I wanted to stay in the femininity. And so I asked myself, well, why is that? Why do I feel this way? A very close friend of mine, a family friend of mine who is trans, actually reached out to me, and I'm so grateful that he did. He was the first trans person I ever knew about, and I didn't even know what a trans person was before he transitioned. And I've had a lot of people in my life tell me that I was that person for them, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to be visible. People get in my DMs and they're like, well, you're already transitioned, can't you stop talking about it? And it's like, look, I'm not doing this to be annoying. I'm doing this because nobody does it. I know it sounds so weird, but how many trans people out there do you know of? There aren't that many. And even if you do know a lot of trans people, it's probably because you are trans. And, like I made a video on the Dave Chappelle special. Nobody was on my side, but I did it because I wanted to speak for us. People were always speaking about us, but nobody was speaking on behalf of the trans community as the trans community. That's how I wanted to do it. So that's how I'm going to continue to do it. Anyway, I'm not going to say his name, but he was very dear to me and still is. And he took me to a support group where I actually got to meet other trans people. I'll never forget it too, because the woman who was running the support group, she was the first trans woman I ever met, and she inevitably ended up being my electrologist. And it was a funny random coincidence that it was the same woman, but she didn't realize it because she'd met so many young queer kids, but she was an important figure for me as a young trans woman who hadn't been represented. And I met her, and I bawled that whole meeting. I was so annoying, I bet, to those kids, because they were there every week. They weren't going to bawl. They probably told their story so many times, but this was my first time coming. I was letting it out. I honestly, I was compensating for something. I had never done this. I had never even... I was letting loose a part of myself that I had never let loose. And it was scary, because I ultimately ended up going back on it later. I tried it. I was like doing drag. I was wearing makeup, but I wasn't doing it the right way. I was wearing wigs, and I was trying to rush myself into like living as a woman before I was ready to. You can't just put on pantyhose, dress, and a wig and feel like you're a woman unless you're really, really good at it. I don't know. I wasn't able to at first, and that's okay. But that's the thing. When I first started transitioning, and I didn't initially go on hormones. Some people take their steps in every which way. My first step, was doing my eyebrows. Then I started doing my makeup. Then I started wearing feminine clothing, starting to shave my legs, shaving my arms. It was a feminization process, right? Then I was going to go on hormones, and I chickened out because I was afraid that nobody was going to love me. I told the doctor that I was having all these worries. I was afraid of these. I was afraid of growing these. And all of these, I think it was the permanence, the permanence of the decision that I was afraid of. I was also afraid of the infertility. I'm infertile, but I've come to terms with the fact that if I have a child, I want it to be an adopted child, because let's face it, there are enough children on this planet. There are enough people on this planet. But there were all these things that I hadn't come to terms with. And the doctor was like, well, it's okay that you haven't come to terms with it. Do you want to try testosterone blockers, spironolactone? And I'm so glad she told me about them, because I was able to slow my puberty process without having to choose whether or not I wanted to transition, because I don't think I was ready to make that choice at 17. And I ultimately did make that choice at 18, and I went back on it at first, but that's the thing, most trans people go back and forth because it's a really hard decision to make. At first, I wasn't sure it was something I wanted. When I went back on it, then I realized how much I wanted it, There are some people on YouTube who they talk about how they detransitioned, and there are some people who detransition, but less than 0.1% of people who detransition, this is an actual statistic, I will try to find it, less than 0.1% of them actually regret the physical transition. And yes, you can detransition, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you regret doing it in the first place. But that's a whole argument for TERFs, and TERFs aren't going to be listening to this video anyway. So I went on that spironolactone, and I was able to buy myself some time, and I went off it at one point when I was trying to be something I wasn't. I was auditioning for like all these college plays that wanted me to be really masculine, and I was trying to like date boys. And when you're a gay guy, they want you to be really masculine, mask for mask, and I just wasn't that. But I was honestly really sexually like needy, and I wasn't getting it. I've always been a pretty a magnifying person, I wasn't always attractive, but I've always been a magnetic person. But I wasn't necessarily getting some, and I wanted to. I just didn't know how. I went looking for it in the wrong places. Let me just say that. But I stopped going on my spironolactone because I was like changing my mind. It's like, no, I want to get in touch with my masculine side, but I ended up hating it. And when I went up away to college, I was talking to my roommate, who at the time they were actually another trans person, and they wanted to go on hormones. So we decided we would do it together. And I've talked more about this on my channel. This is actually how my channel started. So you can go back to the first video. I'll link it after this. But yeah, if I hadn't had them and talking with them and really resonating with them, and we realized how much we didn't want to, play by the rules of gender and obey the laws of gender. And I just wish more people could walk the line, right? How sad is it that so many people are afraid to like shave their arms because they don't want to look gay. They're afraid to do whatever they want to express themselves because they're afraid they'll look gay. And how sad is that? I mean, Lady Gaga once said the only prisons that exist are the ones we put each other in. And I think that's really true. If I hadn't had my roommate, I would name drop them, but I don't know if they're still comfortable with it. They're on my channel. It's kind of funny, but it's been so long. I mean, we fell out of touch after college, but I am so grateful that I had them at such an important phase of my life to talk to. We did go through those first few months together, and I put them through so much, I'm sure, but I have no regrets, and everything else is history. It's been documented on the internet, and there was a time when I was going to delete that, and I don't know why, because I'm so proud of it looking back. I'm proud of being one of those people who actually historically documented their process, and it's a period of time I'll never get back. It's the past, and as I get older, I realize that I want things to look back on to remember. I want videos and pictures of my cat, because as beautiful and healthy as she is, she won't last forever. And if I don't have pictures of her, then I've missed that opportunity, and I'm trying to miss less opportunities. So that's why I'm doing this video, and I'm gonna cut it short because I've talked about this so much on my other videos. I'd love to link you to those. Maybe you can hear a perspective from me many, many years ago. And if you like this sort of thing, let me know down below. I am trying to do all the stuff you request. A lot of people have been noticing that I've been doing the videos they request, and I try to respond to every comment. So hit that notification bell, share this with your friends. I'd really love to get a platform. And if you want to see the makeup tutorial for this look, it's going to go up tomorrow.